Hello there, folks. Welcome to Sundsvall that is having some kind of spring fever, warmer degrees, sun is shining, and people are outside walking. You might ask how my back is currently. It's better also. It's getting way better. So very soon everything will go back to normal. But I will also do a project that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I've talked about it numerous times, but I have never really had any idea of how to do it. There's a problem with this project, and that is how to show it. I'm talking about showing my entire jazz on CD collection, because my jazz CDs are in CD racks that aren't able to flip between, and they are in different kind of formats and unsorted and everything. So I haven't had any clue of how to show these, but I hope that this will be a great way to do it. You might ask why I don't have them in any kind of order, since I have vinyl, I have in genre-wise, and within that alphabetic order and so on, but jazz CDs are in total random order. Well, since it is the racks that I have where you move each CD, if I'm going to have them in an alphabetic order, and let's say that I have an Gene Ammons CD on A, and I get another Gene Ammons CD on A, I have to move each and every CD from Ö to all the way back M, G, B. It's going to take forever to keep that order. So for the moment, I think this is for the better. I still anyway have a kind of a clue where I have everything I want. So for the moment, it is in the kind of unsorted order it is until I get to better racks where I can move better in. But hopefully you will find it somewhat interesting to see my jazz on CD. Here we can talk about a whole lot of low budget labels, but they still have released that little extra, and that those little rarities of recordings that very few other labels have released. Well, let's hope that you will enjoy the walk through my jazz on CDs, and that the video won't be all that long. So let's start and see if we can do this right. This is a 4 CD box set with Swedish singer Monica Zetterlund, and the one down there, Wolf for Debbie, she sings together with Bill Evans Trio, actually. Really must have for all Monica Zetterlund fans such as myself. Tony Scott and Rune Överman Trio. Tony Scott, clarinetist, together with Rune Överman Trio. Rune Överman, who is the father of Roxette's producer, Clarence Överman. Album called Swinging in Sweden. Gracefully, Grace Kelly, not to be confused with the more famous Grace Kelly, together with Lee Kunitz. And this album is, as you can see, signed by the musician herself. We have John Kirby and his sextet, original 1941-44 radio transcriptions. So this is Radio Airchecks, released on Tax, one of my favorite labels, because this Swedish label releases a whole lot of stuff that is very rare recordings. This is a Jazz Masters, the 100 Años de Swing, Earl Hines collection. We have some My Ballads, My Final Valentine, a ballad compilation with Chet Baker. And we have a compilation on Giants of Jazz with Freddie Green, Count Basie's, one of Count Basie's closest men. We have this concert from Carnegie Hall 1963 with Dave Brubeck Quartet with Paul Desmond. Also on Giants and Jazz and their series Immortal Concerts. We have here Harry James, The Radio Years, 1940 to 41. This is radio transcriptions, radio shows. We have Count Basie, Coast to Coast, 1958. And we have a Stan Kenton compilation, Opus in Pastels. We have a compilation from a series called A Jazz Anthology, called All Through the Night. That mixes both bop and swing all at once in the same CD. Stan Getz, Bossas and Ballads, The Lost Sessions, released on Verb. Not as good as I hoped it would be, though. We have Swedish accordion jazz with Göran Palm Quartet. And we have a Toots Thielemans, or Gene Thielemans, what you prefer. A compilation of Verb, Jazz Masters. This is Miles Davis' Complete Birth of Cool. I have, of course, the original Birth of the Cool on vinyl. This is the Complete Birth of Cool, and the difference is that Complete Birth of Cool consists also with recordings from the live sessions that more or less started this project of Birth of the Cool. We have, where we are, there, Jazz for Quiet Times. This is a relaxing jazz ballad compilation that I found once. The George Gershwin compilation, tribute to George Gershwin by the Giants of Jazz. We have a Duke Ellington solos, duets and trios. One of the best Duke Ellington albums actually I do have. Jazz and the 90s, which I've shown before. It is a compilation with jazz musician doing 90s songs, 90s hit songs in jazz versions. This is a really great one. Scott Hamilton, Scandinavian 5, live at Nefertiti. Nefertiti was a jazz club in Gothenburg, Sweden. And not only is this a great concert that you can hear on CD, you also have a concert on DVD. So it is a double set containing both DVD and CD. Really, really great one. Going down the stairs, we have an Arne Domnerus compilation, The Best of Dompan. Really, really great to have a compilation with this fantastic Swedish musician. Lee Ritenour, Westbound, and Lee Ritenour here plays Wes Montgomery songs. I do understand that Wes Montgomery was one of his big idols. Monica Zetterlund again, Chicken Feathers, one of her most famous albums on CD. Sarah Vaughan, a nice little compilation, 50s recordings. We have Timekeepers, Count Basie and Oscar Peterson, a Japanese release. And we have more Swedish jazz, now for a while, Tore Erling, Swedish big band leader. Jazz highlights. Swedish jazz pianist Charlie Norman and a concert Jan Johansson, Swedish pianist, and Arndom Nerus, Younger Than Springtime, released on another one of my favorite labels, Dragon Records, who releases always the best in Swedish jazz. We have Wild Bill Davis and John Hodges in a 2 CD. Really great. Saxophone and Hammond organ. More John Hodges with Duke Ellington All-Stars and the Bill Strayhorn All-Stars. So this is John Hodges with smaller band sections with Duke Ellington musicians, plus Duke himself. A 2 CD set with Bud Powell. Really great compilation with the best from Bud Powell. And we have also a CD version of Milt Jackson and Wes Montgomery, Bags Meets Wes. A Duke Ellington compilation with suites. These are suites from 1968 and 1970, Volume 5. Monica Zetterlund again väljer sina jazzfavoriter, choosing her jazz favorites. Normally when it is these kinds of when an artist picks their own favorites, you can debate whether it actually is that artist that had picked his or her favorites, or if it is just that artist putting his name on an album. But in this case, Monica said the musicians and the tracks fits very well with what Monica Zetterlund did like. And I have a hard time seeing also that Monica Zetterlund would put a name on something that she didn't stand for. So I think in this case it actually is her picking her own jazz favorites. Here we have some box sets. We have the Lee Wiley box set, 4 CD box set that I've showed a couple of times. And some box sets also from the label Quadromania. 4 CDs, box set with Buck Clayton, and we have a box set 4 CDs with Charlie Barnett, and also one with Jimmy Rainey, the guitar player. All really great one, and an Ella Fitzgerald. Great Jazz 2 CDs compilation. It's supposed to be a compilation with bebop, although it contains some track with Gene Krupa and Woody Herman also. But it is a really great compilation, 2 CDs. This is a soundtrack for the movie Stora och små män, Big and Small Men, from 1995. It's a Swedish movie about a couple of kids in the 30s or 40s that goes to Stockholm to start play jazz. Errol Garner, a CD with where he plays solo, New York 44 and 45. Radio transcriptions, a really great album. Maxi Spanier and his orchestra. Maxi Spanier normally plays Dixieland, but in this case it is his attempt to do some big band. So this is Maxi Spanier and his big band orchestra, or else I most likely wouldn't have bought it. This is 2 shows from the World War II radio show Jubilee, put on CD. We have a compilation from Blue Note called Blue Bop, The Great Goatees and Blazing Berets. You can see really interesting titles, classic bebop titles. 4 CDs with Swedish radio host Leif Smokings Andersson, famous for his jazz shows that went on for almost 3 or 4 decades in Swedish radio. He also released a couple of albums where he presents his jazz favorites. I think there were 4 releases. I think these are all 4. I think there were four releases, and these are all 4 that I have. This is volume 2. We have one here. Another one. He plays big band jazz and presents it. Jimmy Smith, of course. The Wild Side, best Jimmy Smith, best of the Verviers. So this is a 2 CD set, which of course then contains Oliver Nelson Orchestra also, since it is the Verviers. More Jimmy Smith, The Cat Swings, Jazz Hour With series. Also a really great one. Another one from the Jazz Hour with Sue Sims. Lenny Tristano, my favorite jazz pianist, in Giants of Jazz compilation with trio, quartets, quintet and sextet. This is the years when he played with Lee Koontz and Wayne Mars, so it contains Cross Current and those kind of tracks. But also some really great trio recordings with Billy Bauer. Bob Crosby's Bobcats in a compilation. We have an Ella Fitzgerald compilation, early recordings. Chick Webb, Stomping at the Savoy. And then, of course, it also contains a lot with Ella. Fletcher Henderson compilation called Wrapping It Up, with a little early big band styles. This is an interesting one. This is Coleman Hawkins Jazz Club release, Out of Nowhere, and this contains recordings when Coleman Hawkins lived in Europe during the late 30s. So these are only recordings from Paris, France, and The Hague, Holland. And it also contains some from recordings from Holland with Freddie Johnson piano. So it's a very, very interesting and odd Coleman Hawkins release. Coleman Hawkins Phantomesque, which is a compilation with his bebop attempt. Gösta Turner, Swedish trumpet player, and also from the same label, Fantastic, a compilation with Swedish singer Alice Babs. And we have Dodo Marmarosa, Up in Dodo's Room. Dodo Marmarosa is a very, very forgotten name that played with all the big bebop names, but never got really that much recognition himself. So this is himself in solo and in bands, complete dial sessions, 1946 and 47. Swedish jazz legend Lars Gullin, Jazz I blåton, a compilation with his absolute best songs. Really, really great album I listened to multiple times. This is Swedish newspaper Expressen, who during the 40s and 50s made a contest where the readers could vote for their absolute favorite jazz musicians in Sweden. And then afterwards, normally, Expressen would do albums at 78, with those who won. You can choose the best musician in different kind of the genres, best trumpet player, best saxophone player, and so on. And they put those the winners together in a recording session. So these are the recording sessions from 46 to 57. Count Basie Orchestra, the Jump King of Swing, recordings from live recordings from Cafe Society Uptown. Count Basie together with Anita O'Day compilation, and an ordinary compilation with the best of Basie. Nothing ordinary, but it's fun to have the most classic songs also once in a while. Another Swedish saxophone player, Bernt Rosengren, playing Swedish troubadour Evert Taube in jazz style. These are great compilation with Swedish and American jazz musicians meetings. The legendary years, and here is here you have George Wellington with Swedish All-Stars. You have Clifford Brown and Art Farmer with Swedish All-Stars. Quincy Jones and his Swedish American All-Stars, and so on and so on. So these are a series with many records with the best of Swedish and American compilations. And here you have another one. Roy Eldridge, Teddy Wilson, Tommy Flanagan with Swedish musicians. You have here one with Erskine Anderson, Duke Jordan with Swedish musicians. This is Count Basie and his international famous orchestra, Americans in Sweden. So this is a live recording from when Count Basie were in Sweden in 1954. 2 CD albums. Here we have a Big Giants of Jazz compilation with Bud Powell. Svenska jazzklassiker. These are a CD with Swedish jazz classics. British dance bands. This is early British big band dance music. It sounds a lot of jazz still, but it's really, really great and smooth. Jerry Mulligan, Rebirth of the Cool. So this is was when Jerry Mulligan, after Miles Davis' death, wanted to do a tribute to his deceased friend by doing a remake of Birth of the Cool album. Harry Arnold and his Swedish Studio Orchestra, live Swedish jazz, and Benny Bailey. They had Quincy Jones doing arrangements, you had Benny Bailey playing trumpet and so on also. Here's another one, Premiere, Harry Arnold and Swedish Radio Studio Orchestra. Premiere means premiere. We have Shoeberry with some Topaz, Blowing Up a Breeze on Topaz Jazz. Really great small band swing. Another compilation with Swedish jazz. We have inspired by the motion picture Round Midnight. So this is not a soundtrack for Dexter Gordon's movie Round Midnight, but music inspired by that movie, released on Giants of Jazz. Les Brown and his band of renown, Blue Skies. And we also have a compilation with Harry Arnold. Benny Carter meets Oscar Peterson in a Pablo CD release. Had that much CD releases from Pablo, more vinyls. Swedish clarinet player Putte Wickman, Young, Searching and Swinging. Henry Red Allen and his orchestra, 1937 to 44. Really great swinging style. Timeless, Miles Davis with Charlie Parker. These are some of his most famous ones. Another compilation that is fun to have with the most famous ones: Night in Tunisia, Little Willie Leaps, Salt Peanuts, Yardbird Suite, and so on. Though I might be a little bit tired of them, it's fun to have. Coleman Hawkins Swing compilation. We have Soot Sims Quartet, That Old Feeling. And we have a Count Basie live in Switzerland 1956. Arne Domnerus, another compilation with Arne Domnerus called Guldkorn. Larry Young, The Art of Larry Young on Blue Note, a more Hammond organ. Bix Beiderbecke, Bix Lives on Giants of Jazz, early jazz. Coleman Hawkins on Bluebird, sub-label to RCA. Body and Soul. Lulle Elboy, a sadly forgotten Swedish big band leader today, with some really nice Swedish big band style. Not that far away actually from Stan Kenton and Boyd Raven style. This is a really great live recordings. Lionel Hampton, Tempo and Swing. Hampton in small bands. A bebop compilation, model Ordinary. We have a Count Basie who celebrates New Year at Birdland. Recording from Birdland New Year's Eve in 1953. Frank Sinatra at the Sands with Count Basie Orchestra, arranged and conducted by Quincy Jones. What can go wrong with this one? Made in Sweden, a compilation with Swedish bebop style. Spike Juice, an interesting name. He was came from Great Britain, from London, and had a big band there. He went over to America, played with the biggest names. You will have Benny Carter, Coleman Hawkins, Harry Van Allen, and so on. But he got a little bit disappointed in stuff with American jazz, so he went back to England and quit with jazz, starting to review classical music instead, totally after that. But these are his are recordings from his jazz years, both from England and from USA. Birth of the Cool Part 2, Volume 2. And this is a special release, which is more like some different kind of Jerry Mulligan classic songs. But it's very fun to have. Finger Poppin' with the Horace Silver Quintet on Blue Note. Max Brühl, a Danish bebop musicians with recordings where he plays with Swedish musicians also. Recordings 1950 to 57. Chet Baker, and this is once again inspired by motion picture Let's Get Lost. But it is Chet Baker singing and playing trumpet. Chet Baker, the Italian sessions on Bluebird. This is actually when Chet Baker went over to Italy to play with Italian musicians back in 1962. Really great one. And we have Swedish singer Sharon Dial and musician Tommy Berntsson in a jazz album. So that was part 1. Sorry for some glance or if the focus wasn't right and so on some places. It's a hard movie to shoot with the circumstances that I have, but I hope that you got some inspiration of finding some good jazz anyway. So I hope that this won't be a too long series, but at least there will be a part 2. So until then, or next time we see each other, take care and so long.